What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Press X Podcast, episode 86, your weekly podcast for gaming news and opinions coming at you each and every Monday at noon Eastern. I'm Kevin McManus. With me, Nick Hassell.
Hey, that's me.
And Craig Johnson.
Back again.
So a little bit of housekeeping before we start. I just wanted to point out that I'm ready to do the next episode of Gamer vs. Gamer, but I need suggestions. So for people who don't know, just real quick to explain it, it's basically a competitive game of some sort, or a game turned competitive, I guess, because we did Mega Man once. And we play it usually with some sort of stipulation, and then we do a punishment at the end, whether it be the hot peppers or sour candy or some other things that we have in mind. But I want suggestions for the next one. You can give game suggestions, but most importantly, the punishment suggestions, because those are the things that are hard to come up with, and I feel like everything's been done, and it's very difficult to come up with new ones. So I don't want to just like copy ones that I've heard of or seen people do. So if you have any suggestions for something like that, I'm listening because I'm ready to start the next one. With that said, we can start with what we've been playing, and I'm going to start here because I have a big one. I wish Kellen was here, but he's not. Rest in peace. So I'll start with Uncharted Lost Legacy.
Mm-hmm.
So I beat Uncharted Lost Legacy, and it is a Uncharted game. It's very much, I think it is the middle of the road Uncharted game. It's the third best one. It's also the third worst one, depending on how you want to look at that, because there's 5 of them. It is very much an expansion, and I don't want to go into spoilers about it, but it is very much an expansion to Uncharted 4. There's really no new mechanics to the game. It's very much the stuff that Uncharted 4 had, and just more of it. So if you enjoyed Uncharted 4, you'll definitely enjoy this. They do add one little thing to it, but that's about it. As far as the big new thing in it, if you want to call it that, is it's open world. It's got a whole open world area. It's very similar to Madagascar from 4 with the Jeep, where you're driving around and doing your stuff. It's basically that, but in a new area with side mission and collectible-y stuff to get. It was cool. My biggest complaint about it is actually the characters and the timing of it, and I don't want to go too much into it because of spoilers, but Chloe, I like Chloe a lot. She's kind of like Drake, so it works as a main character. My problem was more with doing Nadine as the side character. It revealed more stuff about her, and the stuff that they revealed just wasn't that interesting to me. And I feel like it almost hurt her character, because she was sort of this mysterious thing in 4, and now that I know, I'm like, Like, I feel like when I go back and play 4, it's gonna taint my thoughts of her as a character. I think that they could have gone with some other characters, or just a different... this is what I wanted.
What was the super European British guy from 3?
Cutter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would rather him.
He was supposed to be in it. They were going to make it Sully and Sam was the original idea, and then they went with Chloe and Cutter, and then they decided to do Chloe and Nadine because it gives them a dynamic where they don't really like each other. They're not really working together. They have things that they, so it kind of gives you that like Flynn Drake thing from Uncharted 2, where they're working together, but they're not like friends. But yeah, I would have liked to see Cutter as well. There's other characters I would have liked to see, but I don't want to like spoil anything. But
I mean, they could have used like an entourage, maybe a chapter or 2 with Cutter. Another person jumps in.
Sure,
I don't know.
Yeah. One thing that if I were to make this is the thing. I would compare it to Left Behind, which is the Last of Us's standalone DLC. And why I think Left Behind was so good is because Ellie mentioned something in The Last of Us, and then Left Behind tells that story, so that when she mentions that thing, it means a lot more when you play through it again. This doesn't tie into Uncharted 4 really at all. Like, it's an expansion, but it doesn't expand anything because it's a totally separate thing. And I would have preferred, and we talked about this with Kellen, I talked about it. I would have preferred if they did the story of Sully and Nadine, because when they see each other, they know each other, and Sully says something like, "Oh, look out for her," or something. Like, he knows her. And I would have liked the story of what she did to him to cause him to feel that way, or what their relationship was, because that would have enriched the Uncharted 4 experience, as opposed to what they did, which is literally the definition of a spin-off. It is a complete side tangent that doesn't affect the main thing really at all. But yeah, the gameplay, awesome. The visuals, awesome. It feels like the middle of an Uncharted game because it's shorter than your average Uncharted game. It feels like they ripped the middle out in the ending-ish, like the beginning of the endings at least, and that was the game. And I would have, just to critique it a little more, liked another hour intro where there was no combat, it was just learning the characters, because that's what they did so well in like 2. You do that stealth segment and it introduces Flynn and Chloe. And in 4, for sure, they introduce Nadine and Rafe and Sam in like the prison escapes and all that stuff, and building up and learning these characters. And in this one, they're kind of just like, here's Chloe.
Yeah.
Here's Nadine. You remember her? All right, here's the Uncharted stuff. And it's like, I like that hour of build up.
Sounds more fan servicey and, like you said, a spinoff.
Yeah, if you don't like Uncharted, I don't think this is going to change your mind in any way, shape, or form, unless you liked the Madagascar segment a whole lot in 4 and didn't like the rest of it. Other than that, this is very much for people who like Uncharted, definitely. But like I said, it's great. Like, it's an Uncharted game. It's better than most other things. It's just they set that bar so high with 2 and 4, and this does not touch where those are. And it's also just weird to not have Drake as an Uncharted. Like, he's missed, I feel like.
Well, it's probably part of the purpose too, instead of it being an expansion like they kind of announced that it was, because I'm real picky on words like that too. If it says expansion, I'm expecting, okay, what's my experience of the main game going to be once I go back after this? But it sounds like they're kind of just using this as testing the waters for making future Uncharted games.
Like mini adventures.
Yeah, so not tying it into Drake's story, but like continuing this like gameplay and style of storytelling, and see if they can get away with something that doesn't have to do with Drake at all.
Yeah, and I think they could. I just think that Chloe's partner was not a good choice.
Yeah.
And it seems like there's a lot of... Like, some people really liked Nadine in it, some people didn't, et cetera, et cetera. But I think Chloe, once again, a fine choice, but I would have paired her with somebody else. And there's a lot more I want to say on it, but I don't want to go into spoilers.
Yeah, without even playing it, I can probably tell that Chloe's a really good character, because the same voice actress who does the main, or one of the main people in Dragon Age, and she does that job really well.
Yeah, I mean,
I think...
It's Uncharted. The voice acting's great. The acting's great. The action's great. All that stuff. It's just there's nothing new brought to it to make it... Like, 4 added the rope swing, and that was really cool the first time you do it. You're like, oh, cool, rope swing. But, like, this didn't add new mechanics. It's 4. It's everything from 4. So, anyway, I really liked it. Better than most games, like I said. But for the Uncharted name, I think it's mid-tier Uncharted.
Should it have been cheaper?
How much was it?
No, I don't think so. It's $40 for the physical thing, or it was part of the... Like, I got it for free because I bought the season pass, and it came with the season pass. Because it was originally advertised as $15 or $20, which is what Left Behind was. And then this is way longer than Left Behind. I mean, this is as long as Uncharted 1. So, no, because Uncharted 1 was $60, I think its price is fine. I just think that the character choice was strange, but still really, really good. Next up, I beat Nier.
Again?
Yeah, I went through all the playthroughs of Nier. I got a whole bunch of the endings. I ended up platinuming it. And I don't want to talk... I mean, I don't need to go play Nier. It's amazing.
Noted.
Nier, favorite ending in a video game ever.
Which one? The final ending?
Whoa.
Favorite ending in a video game ever, and I can't even think of something that's close. It's pretty good.
All right. Now I'll take it out of the pile.
Yeah, it sucks because I can't talk about it with people because I don't actually know anybody else who's like completed everything in it.
That's what Reddit's for.
Yeah. So I was talking to my girlfriend. I explained the story from start to finish to her, and then showed her like the video, like cutscenes and clips of it, and she really liked it just from me explaining it. It's awesome. I have multiple people that are going through it now, but like I'm excited for them to get closer and closer and uncover more and more and see what's going on there. Really awesome. Like I said, I can't think of an ending that is close to Nier's ending. I really loved it. Next up, I platinumed Crash Bandicoot 2 finally. It was a pain in the ass. Those relics are the worst thing ever. I hate riding the stupid bear. Like when you're timed, it's fine during the game, but when you're timed, I hate the jetpack when you're timed. I hate running towards the screen when you're timed. But anyway, I got through it because I love that game. Platinum that. I'm going to wait on Warped because I do want to try out Warped, but I'm going to finish Mega Man first. I did the Danganronpa V3 demo, which was, you guys actually saw the ending of it. They've done a lot of polish on this game, from going from 1 to 2 to 3. 3's got a lot of polish. Their transitions, or the like exploring and everything, has been fine-tuned.
Yeah, you can always tell those things with Japanese studios, especially like Persona and stuff like that. Like the more traction it gains, like the second game does amazing. Well, the third one's going to get a huge buff to it as far as visuals and stuff like that. So
yeah, I'm very impressed with how much they added to this. Even just the transitions from room to room, they kind of do the Persona thing where like lines cross and then they fade into another one, and then more lines cross, and then it opens up and you're in the new room. And I was like, oh, that's a cool little graphic.
This game has a lot more chaos on the screen.
The trials do. They always do. But the trials do because everybody's shouting and doing their thing. And that's 50% of the game. I really like these games that are like Catherine and Persona, where they're 50% one thing, 50% another.
Yeah.
And this one's 50% trials, 50% exploring, talking to the people, talking to the Ultimate Maid because she's best girl, and finding evidence and exploring the school and all that stuff. And then you go to the trials, and it's like a completely different game where you're getting accused
it
of
keeps
being
it
a
fresh
killer.
rather than the Assassin's Creed model, which is just kind of the same thing, the same gameplay for 30 minutes on
right. And
10 cycles.
I'm also a big fan of structure in games that doesn't break, where like in Persona it's like, all right, time with people, dungeon. Yeah. Time with people,
just
dungeon.
Just an order to things.
And it doesn't like flip it on you. Even something like Mega Man, it's like pick a level, boss. Pick a level, boss. And it doesn't mess with you. Sometimes I'm not a big fan of games where you're like doing something and then it's like, now you're doing something completely different. And now
welcome to Skyrim.
Like, what's happening? Yeah. Anyway, really like it. I'm gonna get this the day it comes out, obviously, and go through it. If you beat the demo, you get an item for the full game. I don't know what it is. It doesn't tell you, but it just says that you get an item for the full game.
And the demo doesn't spoil the full game.
And the
so
demo
it's not like
is
you're playing level 1.
Is a separate thing from the full game, and it doesn't spoil it. Does it spoil the other games? A little bit. It talks a little bit about the other games, but the story isn't connected as far as I know. They just put in little jokes about the first and second game in there.
Things that you'd miss.
So, anyway, really liked that. And then finally, this one may surprise you. I'm going through Child of Light. This is a game that I've had on my shelf for a very long time, and I was like, I need to play this because I have it on Vita, and I want Persona Dancing to be my last Vita game. The Persona Dancing games. Yeah. I think they're going to be like
whatever.
Sun. Yeah. They're going to be my or is it Stars? It's Stars.
I don't know. They're weird.
That's going to be like my swan song for the Vita. So I'm like, I need to play all these sealed Vita games that I have. So I started Child of Light. I'm about halfway through it. That game's really good. I knew it was good, but like, because I played the demo and I was like, this is cool. But the demo throws you in the middle of the game, and that's totally different than starting and like learning the combat and how it actually works. The combat in this game is sweet. It's got like the final. Have you played it at all?
I own it. I haven't dabbled in it yet, though.
It's got like the Final Fantasy active time thing, so it's turn-based, but you're still timed. And when there's like a meter, and you can see the characters' faces and who's going to attack next, but some of them are faster than others, and you can use like items to make you go faster and stuff. And the end of it is red. And if somebody's in the red, that means they already picked their attack and who they're attacking, and they're going to go to the end. And when they hit the end, they attack and they start over. But if you hit somebody while they're in the red, it knocks them back to the blue, and they never actually attack. So with that said, you have a little character with you that can slow down people. So you can try and slow them down so that you're constantly knocking them down and they don't get to attack and things like that. It's an older game, so I don't want to go too much into it. Short, only not a couple hours, but an average video game length, I guess, probably like 8 or 9 hour RPG that feels like an RPG even though it's short. So it's similar to like South Park, I guess.
Sure.
So you beat it though?
No, I'm halfway through it right now. But yeah, I'm liking this way more than I thought I would. Also, it's beautiful. It's the Ubi art, like hand-drawn looking thing. It's really cool, but it's a kind of side-scrolling RPG turn-based game, similar to like a Dragon's Crown or something with the side-scrolling stuff. Really cool. Not a beat-em-up, though. It's turn-based game for sure. You hit somebody and it goes into
I would have already
encounter
played
screen.
it if it was a beat-em-up. Don't worry there.
So I really liked that. That's it for me. That's what I play. I had an awesome week of playing a lot of good games. Okay.
Okay.
Craig's waiting for something.
I got past the torch. Play a little bit more of Yakuza. Nothing real new to report there. It's still the same thing going on. Still wacky, still crazy, and still making me want to play it. So there'll be more of that. But I did beat Pyre. Mm-hmm. So that's out of the way and probably leads to more Yakuza next week. But Pyre, in kind of accordance with the rest of the game, where last week I kind of harped on the fact that it's one of those games where you can play however you want with no consequences. There's no game over if you lose. It actually might benefit you to lose a little bit here and there as far as the storylines go, the interpersonal or the inner group storylines. It like sometimes you just kind of feel for the other person. You're like, you know what, you've earned your freedom, go for it, buddy. Mm-hmm. Sort of system. But in sort of accordance with that, the end of the game, when I beat it and got my ending, I kind of looked up what other people got, and the developers and other people have come out and said like there's no true ending, because I know, especially with something like Nier, where you get all these endings, or something like a Resident Evil game, or or whatever type of kind of open-ended
game made in
Japan. Yeah. There's always a true ending, a normal ending, a bad ending, and like 10 others. But it's nice to know that they didn't have a specific set goal in mind. So if you don't hit that, you're like, oh well, maybe I should play it again. Maybe I screwed up. Like that whole maybe I did something wrong thing, like, just doesn't happen throughout the entire game. So that's cool to have a game like that when you have some other games that are, kind of hard on you, and if you screw up once or twice, then it's over, and you're like, well, I just lost a few hours of my life. So it's nice to have a game like that, which is pretty unique, I think, nowadays, because, you mentioned Crash. That game's very punishing. I play Souls games, and those are punishing. So it's nice to have a little bit of freedom. I guess you bring the bumpers up on the bowling game, and you can kind of do whatever you want, just go nuts. So really like that game. Really like how it ended for me. I feel like I got a lot out of it that I wanted, and I don't know. I'm kind of excited to go back and play it again. I don't know when I'll get the chance to. It's 10 hours, I think, something like that. So it'll be easy to do. But I think it's definitely something that everyone should play because of how unique it is. Like I said, it's sort of like you mentioned how you like different sort of modes in the game. This one goes from visual novel, epic, high kind of fantasy sort of in some parts, not too wordy, but pretty deep into the lore, and then you'll jump straight into arena basketball, basically. Right. So it's just kind of a weird, off-putting mix at first, but then you're like, yeah, I really like this. So you sort of get into it, and it's short enough that it's pretty approachable.
I think I'd really like that game.
In the year of 200-hour games, it's nice to have a 10-hour one that you can kind of just knock out in a weekend or something like that. Other than that, like I said, Yakuza is probably going to be the biggest one for me until some of these other games, because now we're getting out of the slump as far as releases go. We're trying to get back into the part of the year where some of the big games are going to start hitting. And I guess I can mention two. These are more things I've watched. 2 demos or betas that came out this week were Call of Duty.
Yes.
World War II.
Which I didn't get into. I had the option to, and I didn't.
Did you?
And I still haven't looked at the game at all. Does it just look like more Call of Duty?
It looks old, so it feels, it's not graphically. Graphically, it looks fine. It feels more like Call of Duty 2, World at War, stuff like that. So when you're watching it, you're like, yeah, okay, I feel like I've seen this before. I didn't see anyone play like zombies or anything. I don't know if that's in the beta or not. Probably not. It feels more classic Call of Duty before Modern Warfare.
Gotcha.
So it looks, I don't know how it actually feels, but it looks like some of the older games, like 360 era before Modern Warfare. So that seems pretty cool. I might get it based off that, but...
Do you know the perk system? Like, is it super complicated or is it simplified? Because part of the reason
I want to say simplified.
Part of the reason I like Modern Warfare, like Call of Duty 4, and 2, I think Modern Warfare 2 is where they started going astray, is because they're like, all right, here's 2,000 different kill streaks you can have. Now there's death streaks. You get 3 perks plus 2 support things, plus you get and it's like,
yeah, they started
how
doing the
about you just
everybody.
give me
They started
3
doing like
perks?
the everybody gets a trophy sort of thing. So it's
Yeah.
like, oh, you died 20 times. Here's something for
Yeah.
you,
Hey,
and
that's
it's
me.
completely absurd. Yeah.
I could get that.
Yeah, the death streak thing was kind of stupid.
But then again, when they started getting into the kill streaks that were like super oppressive to where like you couldn't stop it from happening if you were already losing. There's no like comeback system basically built in. Then that's when it sort of started to suck too. But this one seems extremely simplified. Like I said, like top to bottom visually, maybe not visually is a good word for it, but gameplay wise and presentation wise, it feels like the old Call of Duties. It looks nice though as far as visuals go. So there's that was the first one. And I want to say too, probably Call of Duty games you need to actually play, get the controls down and stuff like that. So it's hard to watch someone play a first person shooter, I guess, and be like, okay, I'm buying it. You sort of have to just get into it yourself. The second one, something you can watch and determine if you want to buy, is Final Fantasy Dissidia or Dissidia Final Fantasy. I forget what the actual title is for
One
it.
of those two.
Lightning Returns, Final Fantasy 13.
I want to say there were 10 Final Fantasy characters. I knew 2, Cloud and
Really?
Lightning.
Isn't the dude from 12 in it? I mean, I know he's in it. He might not be in the beta.
I didn't see him in the beta. Then again, I only saw the selection screen a couple of times. I watched it for like an hour, something like that. It's pretty cool. It had one guy. He chose Cloud, and basically the matchmaking. Yeah, I know. The matchmaking system. He chose his character. He'd get paired up with 2 more against 3 people, and you just it's like I want to say it's more like Final Fantasy 15's combat in a way. I mean, you can't do pause and turns and all that really with online multiplayer. So 15's kind of makes the most sense to replicate if you're going to do online fighting, which is what this is. But it was cool. Like,
I mean, this is a sequel. They've done this before.
But yeah, and this was the PS4 version. I guess I should mention that I was watching. But it was cool just to see kind of on the fly, being able to swap between who you're attacking and the typical Final Fantasy sort of combat where you can do arts and you can do actual like physical attacks and stuff like that. There were summons that dropped, so I don't know if eventually you're going to be able to summon one of these huge things that probably just ends the game. So I don't know how absurd it is as far as like if it's balanced, if it's fair, stuff like that. But it was just cool to see a different style of fighting game because, like I said, you start the match, you're 3v3, you're lined up on opposite sides of the arena, and you just on the fly, you're switching between who you're attacking, and you never know if someone's jumping in from behind you or something like that. So it's kind of 3D but pulled back, so your character is probably, I don't know, maybe like a tenth of the screen. So you can see all around you and stuff like that. So you shouldn't get flanked or anything too badly. But it seems pretty cool. It seems pretty hectic too. So I don't know. It would be interesting to get like a you, me, and Kellen, or
I'm
3
definitely
or
down
just
to get it.
whatever.
It's got Ace in it, who's one of my favorite Final Fantasy characters, and I think a very underrated Final Fantasy character.
I'd like one of the few Final Fantasy characters that I know to be in, either from 12 or 15.
Dude from 12 is definitely in it, and I know Noctis is not in it right now, but they were talking about him.
Yeah, I'm
he
sure
might
DLC.
Be DLC.
Yeah.
I would totally go from Tidus from 9 or Tidus from 10.
Is in 10. He's in it.
No, what's the guy from 9 though? Zidane from 9. That's what I would go. I'll go with one of those two. You never played 9? It's great.
Or 8.
Oh, 8's crap. Don't play 8. 9's great though. 9's my favorite.
Everybody's got a different favorite Final Fantasy, which is my favorite's Type 0, which is like a very odd favorite.
I've never even touched that.
Yeah,
so.
it's good.
15 here.
You're just a horrible human being person.
12's pretty good though. Zodiac Age is
I'm
up
fine
there.
with 12.
I just need to play it more. Yeah, it was cool. Just kind of, it's a different style of fighting game. So like, even though stuff like For Honor kind of fell through the cracks, and most people kind of joke about it as far as like it being a fighting game, I like seeing different styles coming out where it's not you're not locked into you're not locked into Street Fighter or Tekken. Like you get Arms, you get Pokken, you get Smash every now and then, but Smash is kind of like a staple now.
Not a fighting game.
But like Dissidia is cool, For Honor, stuff like that. I like seeing it branch out and keeping sort of like a fighting game mentality, but a different sort to kind of reach out to other groups of people.
I agree with that. I will say typically they're way worse, but I still
I won't fight that.
I think the difference from that just comes from a franchise where they just do that all the time. That's their thing versus them just trying to do a spin off of it. Obviously, the spinoff isn't going to be as good as
Dissidia Music as part of the course with Final Fantasy. Really good, from what I could hear.
Makes sense. I wonder if I don't know. I'll look into it before. I hope it's like remixes of
the old
songs, like levels from the old games.
If you're playing Cloud, it's like a Final Fantasy VII remix,
like Midgar type thing. Yeah, that'd be sweet.
That'd be cool. So what I've been playing is kind of weird. I feel like that happens every time I come on the show. I actually started dabbling back into my 3DS quite a bit over the week, and I found out that they put the original Pokemon games on the eShop, and I played through Pokemon Yellow.
There we go.
Which is the most out there thing, and I could not have told you a week ago that I was going to do that this week. It just sort of happened.
If we lived out in Europe, I would have already bought the gold and silver physical boxes that they put out for the 3DS.
So they're not actually. I looked up that though. They just have download codes inside.
I know,
but it's kind of a bummer, but it's sweet.
Yeah, it's still cool.
Yeah. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Really, I haven't.
That's a long game.
Yeah. Other than
only a couple 100 hours. Yeah.
Other than that, oh no, I crushed through it. Other than that, I picked like a couple things here and there that I kind of dabbled into, starting throughout the next couple of weeks. And I think that I'm definitely going to start up Nier. I think at this point, I feel like I kind of have to. If I don't, you're just going to keep looking at me every week like,
Nier and Persona 5. Please play them.
Oh, I'm never finishing Persona 5. That's probably never.
Just put it on easy. You can't die.
Persona 5 is more of a grind. Oh, I wouldn't say that. Some of the levels are kind of hard. Even
you die on easy?
It took me forever to beat that.
I played on normal, so I don't know, but I know.
You're talking about like not lose.
Not
it
makes
have to
it
reset.
so that you literally can't die. Your health just goes back if it runs.
You lose the fight, but you just kind of lose time.
Well, I don't know. We'll see about that one.
Nier's a lot more like you can play it in waves and just crush it.
Yeah, I'll probably play Nier throughout this week, but yeah,
cool. I do want to say that tonight we're going to be playing Night Trap. So that's going to be a fun time. So next week we can report on how wonderful and fantastic that game was. So that's what we're doing after this. And we're playing I guess it's worth mentioning, we're playing the Bloodborne card game as well.
Yeah.
So we can talk about that after next week as
Thankfully, it's not anywhere near as difficult and complex as actual Souls games.
This is true. So let's move into some news. Let's start off with the Super Nintendo Mini. They went up for sale. The first one was Best Buy.
And me and Kevin got them. Woo!
We did get them. Went up at 1 a.m. I don't know why, but that's when they put it up.
I think the even more shocking part of it going up at 1 a.m. is that I was awake at 1 a.m. and when Kevin messaged me, I immediately saw the notification and got one, which I probably got within a minute window.
They were gone not super quick. They were definitely the longest because it was 1 a.m. Yeah. So then the next day, Amazon put theirs up. Walmart put theirs up, which was a disaster. Amazon was selling them through like third-party things.
No, so here's the Amazon thing's actually really, really crappy for people who have Prime. So what they did is they've had a page up that is Super Nintendo Classic Edition. Please click email me to notify and all that stuff. They have it all set up. We'll let you know when it's coming. Well, then that page never was updated. They added a new page that no one had clicked to sign up for, and no one got notified.
Right, yeah, they were trying to avoid scalpers.
Yeah, then they deleted that old page that had the notifications up, which is just, everyone who had Prime is like, what? You just didn't notify me of this thing that I could only get for 1 hour? People are
way less than that.
Yeah, people are pissed.
I love the picture. It was the Eclipse, and it was the Super Nintendo Classic, and it's like, which lasted longer? Then Walmart's went up. I think Walmart crashed. The website, it's a disaster. Target's was up for
Target definitely crashed though. Target had the thing where like people were checking out and it was immediately popping them back, and then they were flooding back into inventory.
And people
at
were
the
just
same time.
They had a wormhole.
So anyway, it was very difficult to get. Nintendo said that they're going to make a whole bunch of these. The pre-orders sold out very quickly. They didn't even do pre-orders for the last one, so this is already better than the last one. But we'll see. I'm happy I got one and haven't really had to follow this. But I know there's people that really want one and they're really salty that they didn't get one. So.
Well, I mean, I think it just comes back to the argument that like it's been a huge news thing for Nintendo that they haven't been able to produce as many Switches as they wanted because they can't get the parts, right? That's been a big issue. Of them
and that's actually like the truth.
It is, and that's completely understandable. If they tell anybody that, everyone's gonna be like, okay, that's fine. how complicated do you think it really is for them to get a tiny little motherboard, a plastic case, and then dump all the software they already own onto it?
Yeah, I don't know.
There's no reason there shouldn't be a million of these, and that everyone who wants one can buy one.
Yeah, I imagine we're going to have this pre-order wave, which I don't know how many are in it, the launch for the stores, and then I think near Christmas they're going to do
if
another
anything,
huge
there should
wave,
be a
and
surplus of these
that's
where
gonna be
there's
it.
more on the shelves than people actually want.
Yeah.
But anyway, I got one. I'm excited.
Me
I
too.
haven't had a Super Nintendo, so I'm excited to play through some of the classics.
I got enough playtime out of my actual one way back when, so I'm good.
Yeah, it's one of the. It's a gap in my gaming library, which we'll talk about one week. Kind of gaps in our gaming libraries. But anyway, next up, we had Gamescom, so there was a lot of announcements from there, good and bad. We're going to talk a little bit about that. I was kind of disappointed with it, but just some things.
Well, to be fair, it wasn't hyped up as much as like an E3 or a PlayStation conference.
I actually heard about it like the day of.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, this is going on?
Yeah.
Oh, I think maybe Kevin or someone had mentioned something like, oh, they're doing this. I was like, oh, yeah, Gamescom. And I just happened to be home early that day.
Yeah, Microsoft's was right before the Eclipse, and I was like,
That's what it was. Yeah, it was Eclipse Day, so that's why it was him. Okay, yeah.
Anyway, some news from there has popped up. Injustice 2 got their new trailer for adding 3 new people. So here we go. We got Raiden from Mortal Kombat, guys. Woohoo.
At least you knew. I mean, from the silhouettes and stuff like that.
Sure. I still think it's a horrible idea. Why is Sub-Zero in that game?
Well, what I don't understand...
Why is Raiden in that game?
I get stuff like Tekken that wants to bring King of Fighters people over, wants to bring Street Fighter over, but like I don't know why a company that flip-flops between Mortal Kombat and Injustice wants to put DC characters in Mortal Kombat and Mortal Kombat like they should be their own separate IPs, so why do you keep bleeding over?
The only time it's relevant or should ever happen is in secret characters. Like, I forget what game was it. Was it the first Injustice? Or one of these games had Freddy Krueger as like a secret
Mortal
boss.
Kombat.
Mortal Kombat.
Yeah.
Like, that's cool. That's a neat thing. When you unlock it, you're like, oh, I didn't expect that. That's nice.
Well,
but just have them there in multiples, it's like...
And you have to pay for them.
I kind of agree
and
with
they're
that.
always really good.
What I kind of wish they would just do, instead of just slowly bleeding over into each other's games, why don't they just make a DC versus MK?
Oh, they have that, and it's one of their worst games ever made.
Well, like, I don't understand why they're, like, slowly doing it again.
Yeah,
like, slowly,
I don't know either.
Like, dripping
so
back
my
into
problem is, just keep them separate. But my bigger problem is Sub-Zero could have been Killer Frost. Like, the people who buy that game aren't Mortal Kombat. They're DC fans. And they don't want Sub-Zero in their game. They want Killer Frost.
Franchises at this
Raiden
point
could have been Static Shock. Like,
both
God,
franchises
that would have been so cool.
at this point have enough characters to fill up a 60-person lineup.
Yeah.
Without having clones and clones of this guy.
Yeah,
like,
I don't understand. But anyway, Raiden, I was pissed once again. Still haven't bought the game. I have it because I'm borrowing it from someone. Still haven't bought the game. I said I'd buy the complete edition when it comes out for $60 or whatever, but these character reveals are.
But there's going to be 8 Mortal Kombat characters in it.
Now I'm just pissed that Static Shock isn't in that game.
I know, it would have been perfect. Next up, Black Manta, who we knew was going to be in it. Kind of weird that he wasn't in it from the start. He was in the background of one of the levels, similar to Martian Manhunter from the first one. I always just think it's weird because they kind of give everybody a villain and a hero in the game, like Batman, Joker. You have
Superman,
Cheetah,
Luthor, or Superman Darkseid.
Yeah, Superman, Darkseid, Cheetah, Wonder Woman. Like, they kind of give them their things. And then it was like Aquaman. And they just didn't put like a villain in the game for him. So it makes sense that he's in the game, but I think it's strange that he's DLC. And then the big one, which actually I don't think I saw anybody predict, Hellboy is in it.
That one's awesome.
That is
was a really cool surprise, and I'm very interested in this next wave. But yeah, overall, I like
Hellboy's kind of a cult sort of following as far as like the movies and stuff go.
But I think that's something cool that they can do, where people aren't like, "Man, why is this from another fighting game?" Like, that's something unique.
Put
they
in
did.
Cool comic book characters that aren't DC, if you're
and they're like, "Wow, that really makes it." Like another one, and I don't know if this one could actually be something they could do, but the main guy from the Sandman comics. I think that might be kind of cool, and he has like different powers and stuff.
So this next, there's one more wave.
I'd still like to see Watchmen characters in this game.
I agree. I don't think we're
gonna
get it. Unfortunately,
just anything except for Dr. Manhattan.
Yeah, Dr. Manhattan just explodes people.
There's three left, and one of them is the Atom. There's no question. He's a teeny little thing on the. It's Atom, which is awesome because I love him. Then there's 2 more.
Yeah.
One of them very much looks like Enchantress. I'm putting down my prediction. So Atom. The next one is Enchantress, which I think would actually work in a fighting game very well. The last one is a big hulking guy and it kind of looks like he's wearing a cloak or something. A lot of people think it's Spawn. I don't think
That would also be sweet.
I don't think it's gonna be Spawn. I think people are gonna be disappointed.
But that would be sweet.
Yeah.
It kind of looks like Edric the Demon, which I actually think
Etrigan,
is actually the most likely of
Yeah.
them. But also, it sort of looks like it could be Shazam, because Shazam's not in Injustice 2.
Yeah, Shazam
and
would be
Black
an easier play.
Adam is,
Yeah.
and he kind of looks like Shazam, and I sort of feel like people are going to be really disappointed when it's Shazam. But I think that's going to be the final lineup. But Adam would be cool, because that shrinking mechanic would be interesting.
The more I think
don't know how
about
you
it,
do that.
the more they need to add in a Watchmen pack. Where it's
I don't know why
3.
they didn't do Watchmen pack.
Yeah.
I mean, they had the Birds of Prey in the game, but Justice League Dark, because they have Swamp Thing, you could have done Constantine, Zatanna.
They actually just did a Justice League Dark
something.
animated movie, so that would have been a perfect time.
It's really good.
Yeah.
That might be my favorite animated DC movie. I really like that one.
It's not my favorite. but
I really liked it.
It was good.
It was very good. But yeah, I think that you could do packs like that and it would work. So anyway, Hellboy's cool. That's
Yeah,
about
I like
what I
him.
got.
Sweet.
Cool guy.
Next up, Final Fantasy 15 is getting a demake called the Pocket Edition. This is like a cell phone version of Final Fantasy 15. It is the entire game. It actually looks really cool, like that they're doing this. Obviously, if you have a PlayStation 4, just play the normal version.
Sounds like a battery depleter, though.
Sure. It is some news things on it. It's episodic. It's 10 parts. And when asked about the big news from it, I think when asked about it, the director responded, "Yeah, we've been thinking about a platform whose name rhymes with Twitch. So it sounds like we might be getting the demake on the Switch, which is perfect, actually."
So I have a question, and it's not really in regards to this Pocket Edition thing, but it is Final Fantasy 15.
What's up?
Did you guys see the news thing where it was, and I didn't read into it, so you guys probably know more than me, where it was like Final Fantasy 15 and Assassin's Creed, and they were like mixed? Did you guys see that? There's some weird thing where they had like the character, like it was like the Assassin's Creed guy with like Final Fantasy weapons, and they're like comboing them together somehow, and it was really weird.
Oh, no, I don't know.
If they were similar companies, like I know back in the day it was Mass Effect 2 and Dead Space, but those are both EA, and they had kind of bleed over.
To be fair,
items.
Final Fantasy has a Mass Effect outfit in it.
Yeah.
So that's weird.
So it might be something like that. I don't know.
I just saw art where it was like, is Noctis' name?
Yeah.
It was like Noctis on one side and the Assassin's Creed on another, and they were like together.
I mean, if they want to put Noctis in Assassin's Creed, I'll let them.
I might play Assassin's Creed. Also, just kind of on the note of the Final Fantasy stuff, the 15 fishing VR game was shown off a little bit more, and it's going to be a $30 game. So it seems like a premium VR experience, which is cool.
I was just showing him. There was just an art. It's basically like some person from Final Fantasy. It's got Final Fantasy background, and the Assassin's Creed guy's in it, and it says both names. I don't know. They call it Assassin's Festival, though, so I don't know if that's just going to be DLC for Final Fantasy 15. It's weird.
No clue.
I don't know. Very
Not
strange.
on my list in there.
Alternate universe, I guess.
Gamescom. Xbox One had a presentation. It was kind of boring, but they put up the pre-orders for the Xbox One X, and they revealed a Project Scorpio edition, which is basically like the Day One edition for the Xbox One, where it just says Project Scorpio on it, which is actually kind of cool. It comes in a cool box. Comes with a stand.
Especially since his name is better than the Xbox One
It
X.
does show the name on the controller in the worst placement ever, though.
In the middle,
Yeah.
like going down.
Yeah, it was, when I saw it on the console, I was like, that's really sweet, and they put it on the controller. I was like, that's terrible looking. Could you have just not put that on there?
And that sucks because Xbox, as far as their advantages over other systems, controllers is still one of them for me.
And the fact that they can customize them.
I was going to say
crazy.
the custom controllers are awesome.
They totally could have done a super cool one. And
Nintendo's doing that.
Really neat. Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen that. We didn't talk about it on the show. Nintendo has a website now. It's Japan only currently, where you can order a Switch, any two Joy-Con colors that you want, and a game of your choice.
Yeah.
How customizable are the Joy-Cons?
They're just the ones that you can order. So like you can
Lame.
get blue, pink, or like you can get like the Splatoon ones or whatever. But
give it
only
a
the
year
ones
on that, and we'll be able
come
to
out, but
pick fuchsia.
still
and
cool.
I want like Switch colorway where I can just go and just paint whichever pieces I want. Whatever
like
color.
the Converse or
Yeah.
whatever, and you're gonna that's no good.
That would be sweet.
Put decals and stuff on it. Yeah.
Secret of Mana is getting remastered in 3D coming February 2018 for the PS4 and the Vita.
That's gonna be awesome. I'm excited for
I
that.
like that game. That's
Good
one
game.
of the few games that I've actually played for the Super Nintendo, and I like it.
Yeah.
I saw somebody post on Reddit in the thread where they were talking about it being announced, and someone was like, "First off, I can't believe how good that looks," and he's like, "And then I couldn't believe I heard them speak words." And he was like, "My mind is blown."
Yeah, I'm actually pretty excited for this. Is this game on the Super Nintendo Classic? Because it is, isn't it?
No, I don't think it is.
It needs to be.
Yeah, Secret Man is not. I thought it was because it's
Well,
it's a
I-
two-player.
I think it's licensing because I think they can only get so much.
Well, just
from
check if
Square
it's on
Enix.
it first.
Yeah. I'll check.
But as far as like,
Because I thought it was, but it might only be in Japan because Japan has different ones than us,
Yeah,
and
well,
it's
let me
possible.
look.
as far as
it's
like top 20, 25, 50 lists, like it's always on there.
like
That game.
RPGs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
For sure.
just games on that system.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah.
It's usually high up there. So,
But yeah, I
it
played
should
through
be.
that like two-player. I shouldn't say I played through. I played a bunch of it.
Mhm.
Two-player, and it's awesome. It's kind of
Yeah.
like RPG Zelda-ish, like old school Zelda. Very neat. But you let us know if it's on the classic because I think it is.
I will get back to you on that.
I
Looking
wanna
at
say
the
it
list
is.
right
I want to say it is
Yeah.
too. But either way, now I'm like, oh, I'm gonna play this version. So, next up, let's just stick on Gamescom. I guess. Is there any announcements or anything you guys cared about from Gamescom?
Oh,
Is there
yeah.
anything that popped up that
My favorite one, Sims Cat and Dogs. I'm
you
always
just like that they brought the dog on stage?
No. Well, yeah, that was interesting. But I'm always looking for a reason to go back into Sims. It's one of my kind of fallback games. Like
Mhm.
every year or so, I'll jump back into the nearest Sims and just kind of play for a little bit. And then that like realization of why am I simming, playing life? Like, why am I wasting my life simming other people's lives sort of thing hits. And then I like go back into the serious games. But Sims 4 has got some pretty ridiculous expansions so far. And this kind of adds to it. And I haven't played any of them, so this is reason for me to fall back and play this.
It is on there, by the way.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's on for all regions.
I
Cool.
thought so.
Yeah.
Yeah, so what about this Biomutant game? Do you have any interest in it? People have been losing their mind over this
Yeah.
game, and I don't think it looks
I saw the fact that it
great.
leaked. Early before Gamescom. I didn't see anything about it or what it is. Or anything.
It's basically an action RPG. People are going nuts over it, I guess, because you're like a kung fu raccoon.
Sort of, yeah.
And you're going about it that way. I know THQ Nordic are the people behind it. So those are the Darksiders people, I guess. That's the part I don't understand. If it was like a huge monster name like Bethesda or something doing this, that's why people freak out. Darksiders is a big name, I think. It's enough to get people interested.
It's a
But-
mid-tier thing, yeah.
But I don't understand why it was such like a huge like avalanche of people losing their minds over it.
Yeah.
I guess that's sort of where you were going with that.
Yeah,
But yeah,
I-
I think it's cool. Will it be like a Game of the Year contender? Probably not, but it seems interesting. Like I said, Kung Fu Raccoon.
I don't know,
like,
it looks like a lollipop chainsaw to me. Like something that
Yeah.
some people
Yeah.
are really going to like and nobody else knows what it is.
like a niche game or something
Yeah.
like that. Okay.
I didn't have any Gamescom stuff, but I did find this interesting where we were just talking about the SNES. The Japanese games that we're not getting over here are
There's a good
a
one.
Fire
I know.
Emblem game,
Yep.
Legend of the Mystical Ninja, Tetris Attack, Super Soccer, and Super Street Fighter 2: The New Challengers.
Yeah, Tetris is a big one because
Yeah.
we can't get Tetris games
Mhm.
Yeah.
from licensing stuff. They announced a new White Day
Yeah.
at Gamescom, which is cool. White Day came out last week on my birthday, I think, actually, digitally, and it's coming out next month physically. I'm excited to play it. Some people say it's one of the best horror games ever. It's a Korean horror game from
Saw that on Twitch.
2001.
Gladly passed by instead of clicking and opening it.
They announced White Day 2.
Yeah.
And they said it's going to be fully playable on PlayStation 4 in VR or non-VR. And I was like, ding, winner. So I'm excited for that.
Chicken dinner.
Oh, yeah. Tekken 7
Mhm.
got some more DLC. Well, not more DLC. We got a date for the DLC, which is August 31st, so it's coming soon. And that is the bowling DLC. And it seems like they put a lot of time into this. You can customize your ball. There's new outfits, whole bunch of stuff.
Only downside of it, no online multiplayer.
Oh, did this?
It's local. It's local only, which is fine with us.
Right. It's just kind of weird because they have online.
Yeah.
Like they have servers.
Yeah.
So it's a little strange.
Yeah.
No,
So
I agree
friends
with
not
that.
included, I guess, with this DLC. But
We don't want you to bowl. with your
I'm super
friends.
excited about that. The Tekken bowling is great.
Yeah.
Like it's actually a really fun bowling thing.
it's a good way to de-stress after
Losing
Usually,
and-
when you and I play, we do 50 straight matches.
Yeah. But Tekken bowling's fantastic. So that's a big one coming August 31st. And then Sony did a little tease of it was, I believe, the day after or the day of the Xbox One X, and they did like, ooh, we have a new reveal. What's behind the curtain? And people are like, oh, the PlayStation Pro X, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, you guys are getting way too excited about this. It is a Gran Turismo Sport bundle, and I think it's only in Europe, but I'm not 100% sure
Of course.
on that. But it's a silver console, and it's got the GT Sport on the controller. Cool.
Sort of the same time line as Gamescom, Final Fantasy 15 coming to PC. Was probably my last.
I forgot about that. That was the third piece of Final Fantasy.
Because
that is probably going to look beautiful.
Yeah,
oh
that's my thing.
God.
Is it's going to be like mind-blowingly like stunning, and I think it'll control all right on the PC. I mean, most people are going to use controllers anyway, but I think probably of any of the Final Fantasy games that I've seen and played, this will probably lend itself to.
That's honestly why I was kind of excited about the Pocket Edition and for it coming to Switch, is because the combat's different, and I don't like 15's combat, and the combat was more like top-down looking. Like you can see what's going on. Like you run into a tree, and the game doesn't.
There's lots of options. Yeah, I know there's a lot of
do.
options to mix up the combat a little bit, so you can kind of make it how you want it. But yeah, this one seems more options with. Seems like it has more options with cell phone or PC. But I know people that were kind of on the fence about getting it before, who are probably more likely to get it when it hits PC. So
That's
like
fair.
the Kellens of the world and people like that who are going to benefit from the major overhaul in graphics when you go. PC.
Kind of final bit of news: the Games with Gold September have been announced. They're always announced before PlayStation's. I like the rare episodes where they're in the same
Both,
week,
yeah.
But, oh well. We get Forza Motorsport 5, which is cool.
They usually end up doing that, like releasing the latest Forza right before the new one comes in. So,
Battlefield 3. The heck is this? Hydro Thunder Hurricane
hell yeah,
and Oxenfree. So
nice. That's actually a pretty good lineup.
I'm actually going to play Oxenfree on the Xbox because I've been wanting to play that game, and that's a good way to do it.
And I've forgotten to bring my PS4 copy for like 3 weeks.
And that, point. Wasn't gonna call you out, but sure. So
I'll call myself out.
I'll just play it on Xbox, whatever. So I'm excited about that.
But the good news is I brought Night Trap.
You did. I'm very excited. Let's move into some questions. So we have some interesting ones here, but let's start with underrated games. What are some underrated games this year? And by underrated, I would assume
Lots of different meanings.
exposure. Like more people should be playing this game that aren't.
Because obviously with stuff like Zelda,
overshadowing
stuff like Persona, Horizon, like there's some monsters this year, so it's easy to get lost in the shuffle, like many games did.
Yeah, I feel like that did happen quite a lot, especially Zelda. I feel like if Zelda didn't come out this year, we'd be looking at a very different year. Like people would care about a lot of other games a lot.
And to be
more.
fair, Mario is probably going to do it with some of the end of the year stuff. Like I'm sure
that day is insane.
Yeah.
Mario, Assassin's Creed, Wolfenstein, and Stranger Things also comes out the same day. So I don't know what's
out
going
of
on.
all those options, I am definitely marathoning Stranger Things.
That's the easiest.
I think I'm gonna play Mario while Stranger Things is on.
Oh hell no! I'm gonna watch all Stranger Things, then I'll play Mario. And I don't give a crap about either of those.
You
other
know what
games
comes
yet.
out after that? Hidden Agenda comes out that week too, like 2 days before. So we're gonna do Mario, and then the next day I'm playing Hidden Agenda. It's gonna be a good week.
That's October. I think doesn't Evil Within come around then too? Evil Within 2?
2 weeks before.
2 weeks before. Okay.
Anyway,
that's busy.
That's what I said.
games.
We're at the end of the slump.
So I'll start off.
Okay.
And I'm just going to throw Nier out there again as an easy softball because this game's amazing. Obviously, it got critical praise. Obviously, people really like it. But it very much came out right on top of Zelda. And that was a problem. I think it came out right in March. And more people need to play it. It's fantastic. It's phenomenal. The gameplay is great. The story is very, very good. Even though it doesn't seem like it's going to be at first, it really picks up, especially when
It's
you
like
start.
subtly good.
At the beginning, but they really do a deep dive into the story. It's fantastic, and more people need to play it and buy it.
Yeah, by like subtly, I mean like it's not like crazy cutscenes and like flashy super presentation.
yeah.
So you have to kind of just weed yourself through it.
That's true.
But it might pick up later. I don't know that part yet.
Oh, it picks up. How about you? We can just go in a circle. Just say things.
I'll go. First one, I did too.
Sure.
Tales of Berseria.
Oh, that's a good one.
I chose it because pretty much like the consensus on it, and I tried to re-look, I guess, at some of the reviews of it and things like that. Pretty much, it's widely considered the best Tales game out of that entire series or franchise, and I mean it's a pretty decently long-running franchise. So to say it's the best one, you know, I think that's enough praise for it.
It's a really good answer.
But it's a good enough game. It's on PC and PS4, so I feel like there's enough of a user base there to play it, and it's not insanely long. I want to say 50, 60 hours, something like that. But yeah, I mean, best game in the series, but pretty long. I want to say like a decade or something like that, maybe. And it's right here waiting for us underneath the mountain of these other scary games. But yeah, I've gotten 20, 30 hours into it so far. Still need to finish that. But it's awesome. And one of my favorite things about it, the storyline, is that you're playing the bad guy or the evil girl, however you want to look at it. And the other part of it is it's drop in, drop out combat. So a lot of systems with like Pokemon games or old Final Fantasy, like if you run into a random encounter, there's the whole loading screen, there's the animations and all that. Like it is a time waster. Yeah. It takes so long. Even if you just do one move and curb stomp whoever you're fighting, it's still like a 5-minute process to go through it. The victory screen, your rewards, blah, blah, blah. This one, you're still doing that random encounters. But I mean, if you just crush the thing, like it's 15 seconds of your time gone. So it's just go, go, go sort of thing. So yeah.
What about you, Craig? You got any?
My underrated game of 2017.
Breath of the Wild.
1-2 Switch. No, I'm just kidding. But anyway, I think, in all honesty, I don't really have one singular game that I can think of, but I'm just going to kind of say across the board would be Switch eShop games. I think that the games that aren't coming out physical are things that people get excited about right when they happen, and then they just forget about it instantly. Mm-hmm. And I think there's a lot of really great games on there that a lot of developers didn't do physical because they weren't sure if it was going to sell well, how it was going to do.
Blaster Master.
And then you have people like, what's the developer's name who did Binding of Isaac? Nick Hassell or
no clue.
But they basically have decided now that they're going to put out every single one of their games, good or bad, physical, because they're selling them so well because everyone buys them. Yeah. And it's like they've announced like 5 or 6 games coming out that I've never heard of, but they're all by that one developer. And I think that that's something nice that they're kind of noticing. But a lot of games, kind of like you just highlighted, like Snipper Clips, Blaster Master, Snake Pass, there's just some cool things that are okay, maybe not the last one, but I just think there's a lot of good games on there that people are kind of overlooking because either A, they're not physical, or B, because we're kind of getting that new game every month, and things like Zelda and Mario Kart and Pokken and now Mario vs. Rabbids, they're all going to kind of overshadow
lots of AAA games this year.
I'm going to go with Rime next. It's a game that I talk about quite a lot. It's sort of Wind Waker-y in aesthetics, but it is very much a walking simulator / puzzle game at its heart. I think it's got a real nice story. I think it's very Journey-esque. It's not as good as Journey, but it's still, I think, one of the higher tier ones of those games. It didn't review like incredibly well. It reviewed like fine, like 7 area, which this year doesn't cut it for a lot of people because there's so many highly reviewed games. And I played it and I don't understand those reviews. And I'm just going to toss in What Remains of Edith Finch with it too, because they're similar. I think both those games are really excellent fits in that genre, like top tier versions of that genre, and I don't actually understand why they don't get more talking time, but it is what it is.
Second one I'll mention is a game I already talked about today and last week, Pyre. And I think it goes on my list simply because this game isn't going to be advertised. You're never going to get beaten over the head with Pyre. Right.
It's also kind of hard, like even just pitching it. You're like, what?
Yeah, when I sit here and say visual novel combat
game,
sports arena combat game, you're like, what? It's sort of like the old previews or release things we read where it's stealth action, roguelike simulator, RPG, and you're like, what is this game? So it's sort of hard to advertise and hook people into. And honestly, it's one of the games that when you start doing your best of the year lists or whatever at the end of the year, you're going to pull up the Metacritics or the game rankings and you're going to see this game really high up there.
Yes.
I mean, like 97 on IGN and stuff like that. Like you'll see it way up there and then you'll be like, why didn't I play this? And I feel like those are the perfect kind of underrated games is when you ask yourself, how did I
I
skip
definitely
over
think
this?
it's one of those games that there's a lot of great games coming out.
Yeah.
Obviously, this year's insane, but I think that Pyre is actually one where we look back on the year. That's a bullet point game that people will mention.
So I feel like, hopefully it does get its credit, and so it can get off the underrated list and back onto the notable list, I guess, at the end of the year.
Rated list.
Yeah. I hope it makes some end of the year lists because I know nothing's going to come out that's like it because nothing has in the 20, 30 years of gaming before. But I hope it gets some credit so I can take it off the underrated list. But it's got everything that a good game needs to have.
I do have another one.
All right, what is it?
So it's another Switch game, but I think this one I would consider underrated because I underrated it. And I was turned around, and that is Puyo Puyo Tetris.
Oh, that's fair. I love that game.
I bought that game because it was a physical Switch game. I probably put it in my Switch, and then went, nah, and took it out. And then you guys had me play it, and I was terrible. And then I started to come around and get better.
Party game.
Yeah.
It is probably one of the best party games that I've played this year. It's very
this
good.
year for sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's fantastic. That game has no it shouldn't be that good.
Like in all the Nintendo stuff, when they were showing everyone playing 1-2 Switch, they should just showed a bunch of people playing Puyo Puyo Tetris, and it would have sold way more.
No, that game's great. Just kind of my final one to round it out is just the remasters. They redid all the wipeouts for PlayStation, which is awesome. They redid the Parappa the Rappa. Patapon, Loco Roco's coming out. I
could probably throw Zodiac Age in there because it's insanely good. And like we've said before, when I first started playing it, they got rid of a lot of the annoyances.
Mm-hmm.
So if there's like a good game out there, except it has this one little thing that irks a lot of people, if you get rid of that or like have a suitable way to navigate around it, all your reasons for not playing it go away.
Yeah.
So,
the Kingdom Hearts remasters that came out this year. There's a lot of remasters that came out that are very well done.
Yeah.
Even if you want to throw in Fire Emblem, Echoes or whatever.
Oh yeah,
Shadows of Valentia.
Crash Bandicoot, though.
Especially
that one is not.
when you hit a certain year gap between the thing you're remaking or rebooting, then because that game was probably 25 at least years old. So going from that to this one, it's a hell of an upgrade.
Does seeing a whole lot of remasters and reboots and all that, does that kind of hint the fact that maybe some of the ideas are kind of drying out?
No.
I feel like, really?
Did you see how much Crash sold?
That's fair.
Crash, once again, top 2 selling of the month.
No. I'm not saying it as in it's not good that we're having it. I'm saying it in a way that's if all these companies are just redoing all of their old games instead of putting out new ideas.
I think it's what people want.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now we fit the certain kind of age gap where there's people that want to play the stuff that all of us old people talk about playing.
But looking better, a little bit easier on
But I think they're also
accessible.
using these, I hope at least they're using these crashes and stuff like that to throw it out there and obviously make money on it, but go, okay, do we need to look back into Crash now?
They're making a new Crash.
Yeah.
I guarantee you we get a new Crash, because of that. But yeah, I think a lot of it is just people that grew up with that stuff now have money. It's similar to the superhero movies and Transformers isn't a great example, but
and obviously
eventually they grow up and they start making stuff and they want to make stuff that appeals to what they were when they were kids, and those people also now have jobs and can have money, and they're like, Spider-Man, I'll go see that. And the only
difference between the G.I. Joe people and the Transformer guys and the old comic nerds where now they have money is that since this is a lot faster technology, it's ramps up a lot quicker than this comic book is way better than the 1980 version. There's a technology leap in here, so it's much faster. We don't have to be 50
instead of flipping a page to read a story about a comic book character. Instead, you get to see it move live.
Mm-hmm.
So let's move into this real strange question we got here.
I like it.
If you could swap exclusive games from the big three, Nintendo, Microsoft, Sony, in a circle, example, A goes to B, B goes to C, C goes to A. So Nintendo's goes to Microsoft, Microsoft
you're
goes
just
to Sony,
taking the
Sony
circle and
goes
just
to
going
Nintendo. Right.
pass to your left, basically.
What 3 exclusives would you pick to ship?
I want to go first.
Okay. Go ahead.
You seem to have the most problem or trouble with it, so I'm interested.
So here's my circle. So my A is Microsoft, my B is Nintendo, and my C is going to be PlayStation.
Sure. That's fine.
So from Microsoft to Nintendo, This is not so much a franchise as it is Microsoft needs to give Nintendo Rare back. The whole company.
I didn't even
so
think
bad.
of that. That's genius.
Every single game, all of it, give it to Nintendo.
The Rare replay to Nintendo.
Please let them put it on Switch. Please let them make a new Banjo game that's not nuts and bolts. Give them their stuff back, please.
I wouldn't mind Perfect Dark being on the Switch.
Exactly. There's so, I mean, all
Good
those
answer.
games got their roots on Nintendo. It just makes sense. So, not a franchise, just a whole company. Give them the studio.
Okay.
Second is going to be Nintendo to PlayStation. And I kind of
You did the same one as me.
I had to dig a little bit deeper for that one. And I went with.
Yeah, me too.
I wanted to
Cool.
kind of find one that was. That was kind of a dead franchise or a franchise Nintendo's kind of forgotten about. And at first I kind of dabbled in
there's lots of those.
well, at first I kind of dabbled in Mother or Earthbound, and then I said, no, that's probably not it. And I found one that's actually even more dead that I think would be a good thing for them to kind of push on Vita, which would be Golden Sun. I thought that would be kind
Fair
of
enough.
a cool franchise that Nintendo hasn't touched since like the Game Boy Advance that I think would be kind of cool. And then for PlayStation to Xbox, this was the most difficult thing ever because what do you take from PlayStation who has all these exclusives and all this good stuff and give it to Xbox who has like nothing? And one thing that I thought would be okay for PlayStation to get rid of that might fit to how Microsoft tries to do all this weird stuff all the time would be Little Big Planet. I thought that might make sense.
I thought about that one too.
Yeah. So I thought that would just fit kind of Xbox's mentality and kind of their structure of how they do certain things.
Well,
And it's a big media
say it
system.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
you could tie in some of the tech stuff that they love to do and
Yeah.
do it that way.
my turn.
Okay.
Get
Sounds
right-
like
now I'm
it sounds
excited.
like
Nick.
we all did Microsoft and Nintendo to Sony to Microsoft.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
That's cool.
Yeah, that just happened. So the way I
It's
approach
just
this
easier.
is I tried to give each company a game genre or style that they didn't have. So
Filling a gap.
yeah, trying to fill a void in their library,
Sure.
which I felt like was the easiest actually for Nintendo and the most difficult for Microsoft just because I had so many options to pick from
Yeah.
of what to give them because I feel like they do have a lot of gaps. But first, we're giving Left 4 Dead to Nintendo. I think I originally was going to do Gears of War, but Microsoft
Oh my God.
needs its Gears of War.
Well, and
And
they
I-
don't do mature games.
Right.
Yeah.
This will be a first-person shooter,
Yeah.
which Nintendo doesn't really have, and it'll be a more mature game, and I think it'd be sweet on the Switch. I want to play Left 4 Dead
Well,
on the
and the
Switch.
fact that Nintendo's always done Resident Evil on like every console ever.
Yeah,
They're
like
doing it on Switch.
they're not opposed
Yeah.
to it. Well, I mean, maybe Nintendo first party is, but this wouldn't be Nintendo first. This is just an
It would be
exclusive they
cool
would
to
have.
if they did like the adversarial mode where
Even Eternal Darkness is a sweet Nintendo.
Yeah.
player
exclusive
on the couch
horror
or
game.
player next to you is the zombie and you're the human guy
Mhm.
and this dude next to you is chasing you
I
down.
honestly think Left 4 Dead Nintendo is a pretty cool answer. They did that Zombie U game too. Like they tried it, that sucked, but they tried it. It actually didn't suck. It was fine. Sony was a little difficult giving something from Nintendo to Sony because Nintendo's properties are so baked
Iconic,
Yeah.
in
yeah.
there. So I wanted to take something that isn't as iconic and also was something that Sony didn't have. So I went with Kid Icarus to
That's a good
Sony
one.
because the newer Kid Icaruses are on-rail shooters, and I can't think of great Sony on-rail shooter. Like they had that Panzer Dragoon.
Kid
game
Icarus
for,
VR.
5. Yeah, that'd be sweet. So yeah, I would give
Yeah.
Kid Icarus to Sony. Also, I think Sony would do more with that character because I feel like, I mean, it's not Nintendo's fault that the person who makes Kid Icarus also makes Smash Brothers, and one of those does a little better than the others.
Yeah.
So, and then finally Microsoft. Now, I wanted to give Microsoft something like Uncharted, but once again, I can't get rid of Uncharted for Sony.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's such a
Because
big player.
they wanted that. Like, they bought Tomb Raider and paid for Tomb Raider because they don't have an Uncharted. So
Yeah.
I wanted to give them a more third-person game with some story, things like that. So I put down either Infamous, which I think is a fair, like, mid-tier Sony thing that they could have, or Horizon, which is similar to Uncharted in, like, style and everything, not so much gameplay. But one of those two.
I'll
is what I
comment
would
on
give
your
to-
Horizon because that was initially on my list before I changed it, and that's because there's an obvious Dragon game that we didn't get this year that probably would have been a lot like Horizon on Xbox that sort of just fell underneath. So I feel like
Scalebound.
yeah,
Yeah. For those of you watching who are curious.
So I feel like this would be their Scalebound if they got it.
That's
so
fair.
That was my reason, but I think I came up with one that I liked a
Another
little
piece
better.
to tack on just as an interesting idea because I never thought of that. Can you imagine if Sony never announced Horizon, that never came out on PS4, and that was Xbox's flagship thing for the Xbox One X.
Horizon?
Yeah.
It'd be amazing.
That would have been like...
People would have lost their mind.
Yeah.
Because, like, I didn't like Horizon, but Horizon's in the conversation still of people are comparing. Like, Horizon and Zelda are,
Game
I
of the
feel
year,
like,
yeah.
very much going to be the two people fight over at the end of the year. So, anyway, yeah, Left 4 Dead, Nintendo, really like that one. Kid Icarus, Sony, had to pick something. Infamous or Horizon to Microsoft.
I think all those make sense.
Mine's a little different. I went, like, I kind of spearheaded 2 ideas. My first one was moves that wouldn't bankrupt the company where the game's leaving.
Microsoft gives Halo.
So yeah, something like that. That's
Rip.
completely unreasonable and would just tank the company. And the other one was kind of, I'd say this like 75-25. 75% of the decision is it wouldn't bankrupt the company. The little bit that's left is the game would benefit by being on the other system.
Sure.
So Microsoft to Nintendo.
I think you're doing Sony to Microsoft. Is that one of
Yes.
yours? I feel like I know where this one's going.
Microsoft and Nintendo. Nintendo gets Crackdown.
Okay.
I feel like Crackdown does not benefit from having 4K this super.
But the power of the cloud means
Yeah.
that you can't put it on.
So I feel like Crackdown only gets better when you put it on the Switch. When you can play it mobile, when you have all your friends and stuff, like you can just join in. Oh, hey, Kellen's here with his Switch. Boom, there's our 4th guy, and we can go on some horde mode raids.
That's what we
or
have to
stuff.
do with Splatoon anyway.
Hopefully fine tune some jump in, jump out systems if they're doing it like that. But I feel like Crackdown, it doesn't need Sony or Microsoft's super duper Pro or X system to be better. It just needs some cool features, and that's what Nintendo's all about, is cool stuff, or party modes sort of stuff. Nintendo to Sony, this one's tough because it's sort of bordering that bankrupt sort of thing. Fire Emblem.
I think that's a good one.
I think that
You
those games...
remove 12 characters from Smash Brothers.
Well, the next one, yeah. I feel like that series can only go up because of obvious stuff like Final Fantasy, where they're used to these sort of systems, but they can branch out a little bit, make them a little bit more epic, high fantasy stuff, but still keep the like strategy-based things. I don't think Fire Emblem's getting anything from Nintendo
Anymore.
specifically.
Yeah.
I mean, the graphics have kind of stagnated since probably the last 3. They all kind of look pretty similar. They're just not really gaining anything, and that's obviously with the unannounced Switch game coming out next year. That's a full-fledged Fire Emblem game and the Warriors game later this year. So maybe that might change if we were to revisit this. But I feel like Fire Emblem could get a really big boost, especially from Sony or Microsoft if I had to move them over there. But these next-gen 4K systems, like I'm ready. Because the big, I guess, kind of disparaging thing in the games is that half the game is like pixelated little dude, like a Pokemon game running around. And then when you get into the fights, it's like super high-detailed anime.
It's very awkward.
Cutscenes and stuff like that. So I feel like they could just do that for the entire game, just make it super polished. This is the interesting one, I think, and I guess you think you already know what the choice is. Sony to Microsoft?
Yes, I would say you're going to say Killzone.
No.
Really? You complain about the controller all the time in the online. I thought you'd give him Killzone.
Killzone 2, I actually used the adapter where you could use a 360 controller
I know, that's
into
why
the PS3.
I thought you would give him Killzone.
Bloodborne is what I would move over to Microsoft.
See, I almost did that one, and I was like, hey, they have Dark Souls.
My thing is, A, they're more likely to move it to games to Windows, so you get PC version.
Oh, you're being biased here.
B, the only, like, literally only complaint I have about Bloodborne, except I guess that it's the hardest one out of all the Souls games, is that it's not 60 frames per second.
Mm-hmm.
And they're
Because that's what's wrong with it, guys. Unplayable.
I said it's my only complaint.
Nice Trap runs at 12 frames a second, and I'm not joking.
Yeah.
And we are going to love it.
But I feel like it could get a big boost, and I think it is more likely to come to PC if it goes to Xbox. Yeah. That's all,
that
that's
was
all
a
I got.
biased answer.
I actually think it's really interesting how you kind of took it with the not bankrupt thing, because I thought about doing that, but I kind of started to do like bigger names, and I was actually dabbling doing for Nintendo to PlayStation, just giving PlayStation Metroid.
Ooh.
That would be sweet.
I think that they could make the sickest Metroid game, and it would be so cool.
That would be sweet.
But then I was like, but
To
I'm
be
pretty
fair,
sure.
I feel like if Nintendo gave their properties to a lot of people, they would make really sweet games.
Yeah, but they will.
I think Xbox could handle
they
like
do
a Prime style
Warriors
game.
and Rabbids.
If you did a Prime style game, Xbox could handle it well, I think.
Yeah. Like Metroid Prime 4 on anyone who has like a 4K type console, I think it would look so good.
on literally anything but the Switch.
I mean, there's stuff like Mario where it's not going to benefit really from super duper graphics, where they can keep it on Nintendo.
I think Mario's locked into its style
Yeah.
so much that no one can. Like, if you have 4K Mario, I'm like, so?
and Donkey Kong fur though. 4K. All right, let's move into the releases. I do want to say that we're going to change how we're going to do the releases, and we're not 100% sure how yet. So right now I'm just going to read some of them, and we'll talk about them
Gareth,
very,
come back.
very quickly. So if you guys have any ideas of how you'd want us to do this, please let us know. We were thinking something about each bringing kind of one game that we would pick for that week to purchase and explain why that's the game that we would buy if we only had to buy one.
Or if it's a really crappy week, sell us on a game.
Things like that. So if you guys have any suggestions about how you want us to do that, please let us know. But this week was so good that I just wanted to read them. All right, so first we have Warriors All-Stars, which I don't know exactly what that is. It's for PS4 and Vita, but it sounds to me like PlayStation All-Stars Hyrule Warriors, which if that's what, or not Hyrule Warriors, just
Dynasty,
Warriors.
yeah.
Dynasty Warriors. And if that's what that is, that's sweet, but I don't know. Rabbids Mario Kingdom Battle.
Oh, yeah.
Woo!
We got 2 fans of that game in here. Resident Evil Revelations, which is cool. It's the first one, which is coming to... What was it out originally on the 3DS? Or it was just digital only, I think.
Something like that.
Yeah, it was probably
release.
3DS eShop.
So anyway, we're getting those. I played the second one pretty recently. It was fun. Recore Definitive Edition. I'm excited about this. I'm gonna hop back in and check out what's different. It's free if
I've never played Recore, is that the one?
Yes.
Should I hop in and play it now that it's definitive?
Yes. Also, if you play the other version, this is free. So just buy the other version because it's cheaper. Though it is only 20 new, so whatever.
Oh,
This is more of a thank you. Or
Also,
I
know
we're sorry.
you're like collector. I
Yeah,
imagine
I'll just
it's-
buy the 20 new
I
definitive.
imagine it's all on disc, so that's cool.
Cool.
Yakuza
Yeah.
Kiwami.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what that is. What's that?
Just their latest game, basically. This year's was Yakuza 0, so it's like super prequel all the way before the series. This is going forward with the series, so...
Red Out, which looks like an F-Zero style racing thing.
It's I've got it on Steam, and that's the one. I haven't mentioned it in like 8 months or something. It feels like, but it's pretty much like Wipeout.
Ark Survival Evolved finally actually comes out.
Yeah,
Awesome. My niece has been asking me to get that game every day for the past 6 months, and I won't.
you hunt dinosaurs and poop on stuff.
Yeah, and it's $100 game.
Yeah.
Which is ridiculous.
To be fair, I said you poop on stuff.
I mean,
Surf World Series for the PlayStation 4.
I was ready to pay $100 just to do that feature.
Killing Floor 2 is coming to Xbox One.
Good games.
Everybody's Golf coming to PS4.
Oh, yeah.
I'll be playing that the day it comes out. Absolver comes to PS4 and PC. XCOM 2's got an expansion. Windjammers is coming to PS4 and
Get it.
Vita. Pillars of Eternity coming to PS4, Xbox One. Sonic Mania is coming to PC along with the Collector's Edition.
Kellen still needs to buy that game.
Yeah, I know. Abduction is coming to PS4. I've heard really good things about that. Spark is coming to PS4, which is very much like Tron Pong, I guess is the best way to put it. You're kind of like a Tronish character.
Trong.
All right, Craig, you're off the show.
Okay, see you later.
Ys 7 is coming out. Life is Strange Before the Storm is coming out. Azure Striker Gunvolt's coming out for the Switch, which is awesome. I can't wait to play that. And then there's a bunch of other things that I don't know what they are, so whatever. But yeah, very, very good week of games. So
We'll be golfing.
oh yeah, for sure. I'm excited.
I'll
about
be shooting arm cannons as rabbits.
Me too. Lots of
Let
stuff
me
to
know how
play.
that goes. I guess we'll talk about it next week. So that's it for this episode of the Press X Podcast. Thank you so much for watching this far. If you did, be sure to like, share, subscribe, all that jazz. Thank you for being here, Craig.
No problem.
Thank you for being here, Nick.
Of course.
And thank you so much for watching. We'll speak with you next time.
Goodbye.
I'm just here for the night trap.
Night trap.